Howdy, hi, and hello everyone. Welcome to Noah's Nest. If you don't know what Noah's Nest is, first of all, hi, I'm Noah. I will be your host. And in this show, I do a couple different things. It can be from doing a topic or something to deal with any type of fantasy media. That can be from movies, books, TV shows, and etc. I could have recorded a one-shot and let it all out and see what happens to everything and whatever. I don't know what's happening at this point. I have so much stuff on my mind. Or I could review and teach you how to play a TTRPG that I have finally read. And the full moon has come out, the red one is starting to show, and I am reading a TTRPG. This one is called Kids On Brooms. Now, if you don't know what this is, you are pretty much a kid based off in a magic, college, high school, whatever. Think of Harry Potter, where you're pretty much hidden away from the world if you want, and you have to deal with different creatures or evil things throughout your whole entire high school career. Excuse me. So Kids on Brooms might sound familiar to you because they also have made a couple others, one of them being Kids on Bikes. You can think of Stranger Things, where you are just a regular kid in a town where more weird and crazy things happen, such as in Stranger Things. So the creators of this specific book, Kids on Brooms, is by Jonathan Gilmour, Doug Lewandowski, and Spencer Stark. I'm going to read the back for a moment. I'm going to try this again. This is my third goddamn take. You pull your wand from the folds of your cloak, and it's glowing blue and illuminates the door in front of you, the entrance to the banned book section. You watch as the copper snake twists and turns around the lock that keeps students like you out, but you've been left with no choice. Your barn owl hoots softly upon your shoulder as you raise your wand to the knob and twist the unspoken words. As it is. So, let's open this book and teach you how to play. So for the first section, it tells you pretty much to set some boundaries. Most TTRPGs and most campaigns and stories, you should set boundaries. Where if there's certain things that it goes over and people are uncomfortable about it, say it, speak it, and you can pretty much ignore the actual thing that this book covers if you don't like what they tried to speak on. Same thing if you want to play certain species or specific people, or if you want to have if you would like to have a disability in the game or be neurodivergent or any other thing, it follows that in this setting outlook. Next, it goes over world building. Now, the DM can just take over the whole thing, create the whole entire story if they want to, where it's based off of the place, the specific mascot that's here, anything special, everything. But in this book, there's a section where you, the DM, and the players can actually create a school. You can change some stuff around. There's a couple different points that you can choose from, or you can just go over them all, where you can ask everyone, what should the school be called? What is the best pastimes in this school? What is a landmark that could be at the school as well? Are there any local bullies, or is there like a hidden creature that has been locked away, or mysterious lore that only some people know? You can create your own kind of intro questions or warm-up questions But this book allows you to be fully cooperative about, setting the whole entire beginning up. Next is your character creation. Now, there's a small list of the steps that you should take in order, but you don't have to if you do want to. So firstly, you get to select your trope from the playbook that takes the appropriate character sheet. Now, I can get to that very much later because there is a pretty decent handful of the different tropes that you can choose from, and they all get different bonuses and pluses and strengths and weaknesses that I can get into a bit later. This next one, you make the tropes section from your character, which is a grade, strength, flaws, familiar, and your first name. Once again, I will get into that in a little bit, but that just kind of develops your character a little bit longer. So after you choose all of the grades, your strength and flaws and everything else, you can then introduce your character to the rest of your party, where it's just to get familiar, understand where everyone is, where everyone's coming from, strengths and weaknesses, to cover all your bases. Next, there are different questions in this book that you can give your character relationships to each other's, where it can be friends, enemies, positive and neutrals, to like relationship-based, professor to student. There's many different questions that I can go over in a little bit as well. And lastly, just the finishing touches. There's a couple of different fears, what you can have in your school bag, your wand, your broom, motivations, and a couple other things. In this book, you get to choose your own wand, which gives you different pluses, and you can choose your own broom that also gives you different pluses whenever you are riding it. So, firstly, let's talk about your tropes. You can create your own. It does not matter what you choose. There are a bunch in the back that I'll get into nearing the end of the whole entire book, because they just give you ideas and a general of this is what this kind of trope would usually play as. But once again, you can choose your own. Next, I will go into stats. Now, there are 6 stats, and instead of it being fully number-based like D&D, where you choose 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8, you actually designate a type of dice to a different set of stat. So, there's brains, which determines how smart you are, how book smart. It'll kind of just how you can get through problems, and how well you are doing in actual school. Then there's brawn, how much brute strength you have. It might not mean how well you can fight. It just might be how many things that you can lift at a time, or how much damage you can physically take. Next is fight. This is your actual combat capability. How well are you actually able to learn new weapons or different fighting styles on the fly. Next is flight. That determines how fast your character is, and that is how well your broom, how well you are able to fly on a broom as well. Next is charm. How is your social ability to person based on their emotion, or even be able to charm someone in a tough situation. And lastly, grit. This is how hard it'll take for a character to be emotionally or physically empty. It can be how level-headed you're able to be in a tough or hard situation. Now, the different dice that you can choose from, that you have to choose for each stat, is a D20, which is superb. Even when you were in the first day of class, you already knew everything about this and exceeded everyone over the high expectations. Next, it's a D12, which is impressive. People think that you're pretty good at it, and you might not understand it sometimes, but most times, if not, you are already great at it. A D10, which is above average, you aren't great, you aren't amazing at it, but it's still better than most people. A D8 is below average, still not amazing, below average, still not great. A D6, which is bad, you fail at this most times, if not, but it's still maybe a rare occasion. It'll be a hit or a miss. And lastly is a D4, which is terrible, where you will obviously be terrible at this skill no matter what you do. Even if you have a bunch of pluses on it, it'll most times, if not maybe that 1% chance that this skill will not be great. You are just terrible at it. Now, there's a thing called character grades. It is just how old you are in this school. Depending on how old you are, gives you different pluses to some of your stats. So there's 3 different grades that you can be. You can be an underclassman, which is going to be around 14 years old and younger. You can be an upperclassman, which is 15 to 20 years old. Or you could be a part of the facility, where you would be 21 years old or older. All of them, you can have a mixture between your whole entire party members, or if you want to just stay one singular grade, that is completely fine as well. Now, if you become an underclassman, you will receive an innocent strength, which is pretty much a bonus that I will read more into later. But you will get to add +1 to your fight and charm checks because you're more fast and likable than any other class. If you are an upper class, you automatically receive the trained in blank. Once again, I'll get into that later. And as an upperclassman, you get to add a +1 to your fight and brawn, your brawn checks, because you're more prognacious and you're more in your prime than anyone else. And lastly, if you choose facility, you automatically receive the studied in blank. Once again, I'll get into that a bit later. And as a facility or faculty, you'll get to add +1 to your brain and grit, because you might not be in your prime anymore, but you have already learned so much more than every other student in this building. Next couple pages, it goes over some strengths and flaws that you can choose. You can also choose your own if you really want to. It's just to help develop your character a bit more and have more realism to it. Also talks about different species that you can play. If you really want to play different species, you would just keep it in the same realm of everything else, unless you want to talk to your GM about that. Same thing with disability and neurodivergent classes. Same thing about different races, ethnicity, gender, and sexualities. It does not matter. Make sure you talk to your GM about it. If they don't care, you do your own thing, boo-boo. So, as Kids on Brooms, you are in a magic school. You gotta deal with magic at some point. So, in this game, you, depending on what skill or what kind of magic you want to use, will depend on what skill you get to roll in. So in fighting, if you want to cast magic through that is more about attacking enemies, maybe breaking curses, or even destroying different obstacles. In flight, it is probably based on defense, hiding yourself, or maybe even using your broom to navigate through the sky. Next is brains. That is more about you're trying to reveal something that's more hidden, maybe understand something that is in a different language or a lost text that you need to decipher, or maybe even see in a different place or time. Next is brawn. This is where you want to move objects or keep something protected, using your brute strength to protect people. Next is your charm. This is about trying to influence someone into their thinking, maybe even creating an optical illusion to modify your appearance or modify theirs. And lastly, grit. This is more about keeping someone safe mentally or even physically, maybe even healing someone or dispelling magic. So depending on what you want to use, as you tell your DM or GM how you want to use a certain spell will depend on the certain stat that you get to use. Now, as I said earlier, you get to actually choose your wands and brooms. So, in creating a wand, you have to choose two different things. One is a type of wood, and the other one is a type of core. It gives you a list of the different types of woods and cores that you can choose from, but if you want to flavor it a bit differently, talk to your GM and they will give you a more general idea of what you want to choose. Because depending on the type of wood and the type of core, you'll get a +1 for 2 separate skills. So maybe you want brains and fight. So you would have to use a hawthorn wood with a wolf's tooth core. It just changes here and there depending on how you want to flavor it. Same thing with brooms. They give you a bunch of different brooms that you can choose from because you will be able to fly in this game. There's different brand names that this book has given you, like the Bruiser. It's a bit more intense, but it will give you a +1 in fight checks as long as you're riding the broom. Or maybe a map maker's friend, which is more level-headed, where the bonus is you know where you are in the area and you can't get lost no matter what. And they have a list of others, but if your DM wants to involve different brooms other than what's listed, they can also do that. Same thing with familiars. You can choose whatever familiar you want. It doesn't hold you to only having birds or cats or frogs or whatever. It's really all up to you. And then the next couple pages, it goes through different starter questions. Like I said at the very beginning of the list. Once again, you can choose your own questions or have a general idea, but there is a list in the further back of the book that can give you an idea of what kind of questions you can use, but it also helps you create relationships between the characters that you're playing with today. Then the finishing touches that you can go with are just creating your name, giving some motivations or fears to keep your character being more realistic or more, human and more fun. Put stuff in your school bag and maybe even answer some more trope specific questions, as I will get into that a little bit later again. So, I know some people are still in school, some people are out of school for the summer, and maybe some people don't even have to go to school anymore now. But you're a kid or you're part of the faculty, you have to deal with the class schedule. Now in this game, you actually get to choose 3 of the classes that they suggest, but you can also create your own if nothing is giving you that little serotonin, if that's the right kind of brain juice. But some of them could be astronomy, which would give you a boost in brain and grit, or maybe magic. The history of magic would give you a plus in everything, maybe even summoning. It changes however you want to pretty much put into class. You don't have to follow it specifically. You are able to physically skip class if you want to. It is not bearing you down to being there, but it could also give you a bonus to helping you get through some of these different skills throughout the game. Now, we finally made it to playing the game. Now, all you really have to do for any of these checks, you have to roll the dice of the specific stat that you are asking for, and then add any of the pluses to that dice, and just beat the DM's number. There's also a thing called lucky breaks. This is what I think is pretty cool about the game, where if a number is too high for the dice to even get close to it, if you ever roll the max amount of that dice, you get to roll that dice again and add the max to the new dice. So let's say you have to get a 12, but you only have a d6. Well, you roll the dice and you get a 6. Great, fantastic. You get to roll that dice again and add 6 to it, hopefully trying to get another 6 to beat that 12. If you equal it or beat it, you pass, great. Pause. But if you have a skill that you have to beat as a 6, but you have a d12 and you get over that, that is not a lucky break. That is, you already passed it, you already did good, don't worry about it. There is a thing called AT, which is adversity tokens, which that means is you're able to get more throughout the whole entire game. But if something is too low or you want to give yourself an extra bonus, you're able to use a AT, or adversity token, to give a +1 to the roll. You could keep it for yourself, you can give it to someone else, it does not matter. You can stack it, but you have to give a reason or give an example of how you would be helping your other players or helping yourself get that plus. And then for the next couple of pages, it tells you the different guidelines for success and failure. So if you exceed over a super high amount, it might give you more bonuses or gives you more lines of success or more information. But if you are more lower, it might be more consequential, where you could injure yourself or injure others in certain scenarios. Now, whenever you are trying to cast a spell, you have to describe to your DM or GM what you want the spell to do. They will then decide on which type of magic it'll be on, and it will actually find the difficulty of the spell that you are doing. Depending on the size and duration and the effect and maybe the magnitude, it will add more difficulty to the spell. So let's say you want to just move a TV, but let's say, so if you want to move a TV, it's about the size of a person, if not smaller, so that's 3. It's pretty natural, so that's an extra +1. And technically, you need it to last over an hour to get to your next place, so that's an extra 2 to it. And you haven't really tested moving objects yet, so that's a +3. So you add all of those together, and that is kind of your number that you have to beat for it to work. So after you do all that, you roll your stat dice, and then add a d4 for your magic dice. Because some people have bonuses or additional dice for your magical bonuses. You will then get to add any other stat bonuses or modifiers, and if you succeed, great. If you fail, I'm sorry. So also in this game, it doesn't really tell you anything about if PvP happens or if you fight someone that is another living creature. If you fight another monster, if you fight a robot, that doesn't really affect anything. But in this game, if you are ever just trying to kill someone out of your own volition and not based off of self-defense or an actual reasoning behind it, your character will pretty much automatically turn into an NPC. Because in this game, it is pretty much crime, exiled, and you will never be able to cast magic again. Now, there are ways around it if you want to bring it in and talk to your GM about it, but do not just go into PvP mode, or if there's a villain that hasn't physically killed anyone and whatever, and you just go out and kill them, then it becomes more of an issue. But make sure you talk to your DM or GM about it. You are able to die in this game. There are combat. You can take physical damage. You can also take damage from magic that is well in the game. It doesn't really delve too much into it, but it tells you as pretty much if you are getting stabbed in this game, it is like real life. If you're getting stabbed, you could easily die from it. If it's a punch, yes, it can hurt, but it might not automatically kill you. You will take damage, you will get hurt, just like in real life. So, if someone fucking casts Expelliarmus or Avada Kedavra, you fucking explode and die. That's it. But hopefully that won't happen. There are also potions involved that you can create your own. If you want to make a specific kind of potion, talk to your DM about it. But it doesn't really create any actual potions. It is based on creativity. And then the last section, it talks about information for the GM, where it's about player safety, a general idea of how to create a story, and probably about the different threats that this game can have. And other than that, that is pretty much it. It talks about the different tones and pace, maybe if you need to create a new character or change some rules. Pretty simple and easy stuff. Now in the back of the book, we finally get to talk about tropes again, where there are stuff like the daring athlete, or a famous teacher, bully head muscle, haunted survivor, funky klutz, golden child. There's many that you can choose from. You can also choose your own, but these just give you a general idea of different tropes if you want to just take one of these off of the back of the book. And then there's a handful of different flaws that you can choose from clumsy, greedy, loudmouth, reckless, narcissistic. Same thing with the different strengths. And strengths actually give you different mechanical effects. So let's say you could be handy, where you are able to use your wand without actually having it in your hand, wielding it. Or you could be lucky, where you can spend 2 adversity points or tokens to reroll a stat check. Or you would get the different bonuses from your different grades. Well, at skilled at, you get to choose a different skill, and you would actually get to add +3 to that specific roll. Same thing with trained in, where you just gain +1 for one of the magic types. And in the far back are all the different questions, relationship questions, where it can be positive, negative, but also the character sheet of what it'll roughly look like. And that is it. That is Kids on Brooms. I actually read this for like 2 days straight just to make sure I was right on it, and it seems really cool, and I really want to play this at some point, because becoming an actual student and learning how to cast magic and dealing through that, and I think a lot of people that love Harry Potter will immediately love this kind of book. So check it out on Amazon, TTRPG, or pretty much anywhere else that you could find TTRPGs. Local game stores, possibly. Who knows? But that is everything for this episode. Thank you all for listening to Noah's Nest. If you like this and want to hear more, check out all of our other stuff that we have done in the past, from Tavern Talks and one-shots and other Noah's Nest. Thank you all. We have social medias as well, which is TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, so many other things, at Creatures and Cantrips or at Creature Cantrip. And that is pretty much it for today. Thank you all for listening. And the last thing I will absolutely say for this is see you, love you, miss you. Goodbye, guys.